Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Soul Talk here on my podcast, Serve Your Energy Way for Empaths and highly sensitive people. Oh, I was dropping that one. Today, I'm very excited. It's our second episode, and I have Kath Grimmitt with me. I'm so excited to talk with you. I'm getting to know you while we record this, so this is very amazing. But for everyone, as an introduction, you're here. You help people build their brands in a different kind of way, and that's why I'm so excited. So hello, how are you? Welcome to my podcast. And
Hi.
maybe let's start with who are you and what do you do, and yeah, let's start with that.
Yeah, amazing. So firstly, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to talk to you today. So I am Kath. I am a intuitive branding designer. So I help people who help people, people who have soul and, that heart-led purpose to help others, but also want to do that by, doing good in the world and having that lasting change that we all want to make as heart-led and highly sensitive people and empaths. I am myself an empath and highly sensitive person. I have been in design for a little over 16 years, which makes me feel quite old. But I have specifically been in branding over the last 5 years, working with coaches and service providers who have that heart-led purpose to help other people by being themselves. And that can be really tricky. So using more holistic methods to get you to visualize and to get you to embrace who you are and embracing the joy of that specialness of what you have is absolutely what I'm all about. And you can tell as soon as I start talking about all of this, I get really excited. And it's just so wonderful to be talking to people that are similar to me, because I think in the online service industry, you can get really caught up in what other people are doing and feeling like you're not identifying with how other people are doing things. So I'm so grateful to be talking to you today, May.
Yes, thank you. I'm so excited to have you here on the podcast as well, because I mean, on my own journey as how do you say, as an entrepreneur, it's a journey of finding out, like, where do I want to be, what is going to be my vision, how do I want to do this, and especially when we're I think when we're guided, because there's also this intuitive guidance that wants to come through and wants to express itself through our work. On one hand, but then on the other hand, you're also supposed to be an entrepreneur that's also supposed to pay your bills, and you want to earn a living with what you're doing, right? So you have to think of that too. And then you have so many on my I mean, I myself have been part of, I think, 3 or 4 online coachings or courses on how to do everything, how to do marketing in general. And I feel that some schools, I'm not going to say everybody, but some of the ones that I've met are very head based, and it doesn't follow the intuition. And that's why I love having you here to talk about this, because I also feel that in marketing in general, it's sort of a shift coming. It's not, like before you used to have, your guidance, you do this kind of emails or this kind of social media posts. And if you do this every, I don't know, week or every day or whatever to a certain amount, then you're going to have success, and then you're going to have people coming
success is guaranteed.
Exactly, right? But I've noticed so many, like, I know a lot of colleagues as well, that have gotten lost in all those things. You burn out because you're constantly creating content that is not yours, because you didn't bring it out of yourself intuitively. And that's why it's so important to have someone like you there. How did you get there? Like, how did you get to that part? Because did you have that holistic part from the beginning, or did it's too many questions?
No. So I had the design side first. So I've got a background in fashion. I worked in the fashion industry for 10, 12 years. And what first started to happen was I was doing all the shoulds. I was ticking all of those boxes. I went to school, I went to college, I went to university. I did all the tick of this is what you need to do next in your life. And then once I got my degree and I graduated, I was really, really fortunate that I did a placement year during my year of studies. And the company that I worked for offered me a job straight out of university, which was incredible at the time because one of the recessions had just hit and it was was a scary time. So I just threw myself into working in this industry because I was told that that's what I should be doing, and I did enjoy it, I loved it. But as I worked more and more in that industry, it started to really misalign with my values as I was developing as a person and finding out who I was and what I wanted, and moving and changing as we do in our early 20s. I just started to feel really misaligned with my heart calling of helping others and wanting to make a difference in the world, and then being in fashion. And I was working for a value retailer at the time as well. So going out to China and Bangladesh and sort of seeing how people were being treated, how the industry worked as a standard, just really started to misalign with my values and what I valued in the world. And so I decided to take a step away. I worked my way all the way up the corporate ladder, ticking all of those boxes as I went along. And I actually decided that it wasn't for me anymore. So I moved back home and decided to rethink what I was going to do. And my next logical step for me that was following my heart is I actually started my own fashion company. I started a sportswear brand. So I was playing roller derby at the time. That became one of my massive passions and helped me to figure out who I was and embrace how different I was. And that was one thing that I absolutely loved about the sport, is that everybody, no matter what shape or size or skill set they had, was valuable within the team, and embracing the nuances about each individual person was a strength and an asset to the team. And that was something that I'd never experienced before. So for my self-confidence, for my self-worth, it became so important to develop that side of me. But I'd only just sort of started to scratch the surface on that whole side of everything. And so as I built my business, I was, as a new entrepreneur, I was learning about how to run a business, marketing and sales, and all of those things on top of designing and making everything in-house and things as well. I was traveling constantly and was reaching, like you were saying, that ticking those should boxes of this is what your business should look like. This is how many sales you should be making. This is where you should be going to should. And I, as we've said, I burnt myself out. I was paying my workers more than I was paying myself. I was working 7 days a week. I was traveling internationally to grow the business, and the business was doing great, but I wasn't. I was really thinking, I did this to help other people, and I feel like I'm just caught in that hamster wheel of should. And actually I'd found myself going back into that whole mass production, make, sell that I had stepped away from in the working in the corporate world. And so I decided that I needed more connection. I needed more from giving back to other people, and what was it that I was missing? So I started working and collaborating with other local makers, with people who had smaller businesses, a lot of makers actually, and within my home city, we actually created the first pop-up shop of local makers that had ever existed, and it was incredible. It was so much fun. And naturally then people started asking me to help them with their branding because I got so much experience in it. I had obviously done it for my own business as well as doing it for the corporate world, and it just came naturally to me. And as soon as I started doing that, the penny dropped, and I was like, oh, dang, like this is what I should have been doing. And so I then had met an amazing business coach through all of the networking and everything that was local to me. She was wonderful person. And she said, actually, so I decided to step away and sold the business and started freelancing. And she actually said, come work for me, come work with my clients doing all of this amazing design work that you're doing. And I was doing so much more than the design work. I was introduced to mindset work. I was introduced to coaching. I was supporting some of her clients as I went along and worked with them, and understanding that importance of self, that importance of stopping and coming back to you first. And that was almost like the catalyst of everything coming together and me forming the way that I do things, because connecting to people to themselves through visualization and through their values and through the vision of what they're trying to create is the magic source. And then everything else that is outside of ourselves gives us the tools and resources to be able to achieve that, rather than us looking outwards of ourselves to fix all of our problems and to make all of the success. And so once I had worked with her and was working with her clients, I really just found that magic of how it all came together for me to be able to help others and create change in the world and that lasting difference. And so that's what I've been doing ever since. So yeah, it was much longer story than you were thinking, May, weren't you? But
No. No, that was perfect, because I feel there is so much in this. On one hand, really feeling into what are your values, is everything that you're doing in that moment really aligned with what you are trying to be, while finding out who you truly, because I feel that we're always, finding out more about ourselves, no matter how long. Like,
it's
I don't know
always
how
a
many years
journey,
I've been
right?
on this, journey of finding myself, and I still find new things but still, to see that there are certain, there's, how would you say, there's this, like, um one thing that has always been there, this one value that is always there, no matter how much you changed or tried or whatever. But there's certain things that always stay with you, and
Right.
those are the ones that actually make you who you are and your core being. And on the other hand, also, one of the things that you were saying, talking about this whole, the shoulds that the shoulds that we have. There are so many shoulds the way we're supposed to be, but there's a huge movement right now of becoming more ourselves. And I find it very interesting, especially within the marketing niche, because um when you look at marketing the way it was way before, and I mean, it still works for some people, so I'm not going to put it off completely, but I feel that more and more people are also, like, the clients are also feeling into, like, does this person feel authentic? Like, are they really walking the talk?
Right.
Are they really doing what they're talking about? Is that going to be really helpful, or is it just their way of trying to sell something? So the on one hand, and then on the other hand, also change that thinking within ourselves, that marketing is just you being the bad guy trying to sell something.
Right.
No, it's me having my vision, trying to show you this is what I can help you with, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I think you've touched on so many amazing points there, because yes, there is a huge shift. I think the shift was happening before COVID happened, but I think COVID especially highlighted that lack of connection within ourselves, with other people, but also with businesses. And there is, people crave authenticity, people crave real connections, and it's up to the people that we are helping to determine whether we are the right fit for them or not. And how powerful is it that we can stand in our authority as who we are, show up as who we are, and say, this is who I am and how I can help you. And if I'm not the right person for you, that's okay. But if I am, then I'm going to do an amazing job of working with you. Versus, buy my stuff, buy my stuff, buy my stuff, buy my stuff. And you're right, there's such a huge change in things. And I think there's still a lot of it in the world, but we're becoming, as human beings, we're becoming so much more aware of impact and of what we want. So whether that is, social or environmental change, trying to consciously buy more consciously, or be aware of the environmental effects of the things that we do and how we live our lives and things, it's all having a ripple effect on on business as a whole. You know, if you look at that from whether you're a solopreneur, or whether you are, a massive global corporation, people's expectations of what we are all holding ourselves accountable to now is much, much higher than it was, say, 10, 15 years ago. And that is both an incredible thing and a difficult thing, because there's a lot to navigate and there's a lot of moving pieces. And there's so much more awareness now with having the internet and being able to connect with people globally. But it also means that the more we can actually connect with people by being ourselves, rather than pushing ourselves into boxes of what we should feel like or who we should be. And I think that there is a huge movement now for people really, both in the business world, showing up as themselves and being imperfect and saying, look, I'm a normal person that helps people doing this in this way, rather than being an expert or a guru, or putting yourself up on that pedestal, or having other people put you up on that pedestal. Actually having normal everyday people conversations and being able to connect and help each other in a collective way, rather than that sort of bro marketing that we have been used to, of everybody knowing better than ourselves. And I think it's such a more exciting way to be doing business, because it is about connection and relationships, rather than sort of, like we were saying before, that very 1950s, buy our stuff, buy our stuff, buy our stuff.
I was just thinking, what was the name of that show that was about the 50s?
Mad Men, yeah.
Yes. That was like, oh, I really ate it up. That show was like, oh my God, this is so amazing to see how everything became what it is today, right? And
the psychology behind it all, and how far we've come, but also how little we've come in a lot of ways as well, especially when it comes to traditional ways of sales and marketing and how things have been done. There's definitely a massive movement now for people to want to break that patriarchy and break that conditioning of how we have been brought up, because we want things to be so much more inclusive now for everybody, and for people to embrace who they are, and for that to be a wonderful melting pot of lots of different people who do things in lots of different ways, rather than that one way fits all model that we've been working to for a very, very long time.
Yeah, and especially one of the things that I love about that also is because it allows us, the moment we start looking at who we are and we're allowing our faults to be okay, to be acceptable, maybe that's what also makes us unique. And maybe that's the superpower that someone else needs, right? So why not show up as yourself? And I think this works for anything. I mean, if we're having any listeners that are not entrepreneurs, but it's still gonna help you with your job or with your family, with everybody, the more we are ourselves, the more at peace we are with ourselves, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, test, to what you were saying as well, as somebody, I've been an entrepreneur for the last sort of 10-ish years, I think it is 10, 12 years. But I've been an empath and I've been highly sensitive my entire life, as we all have, and actually we spend a lot of our time thinking, what is wrong with us? Or saying, why aren't I like this person? Or am I being overly sensitive? We question everything that we go through on a daily basis, whether that is towards the business that you're running or your job, or, it's just general life things. And I think actually to be able to express to people, this is who I am and this is what I do, or this is how I process things, it's allowing us to be more educated about the different types of people in the world, and that there isn't one right or wrong way of being, that actually it's about being compassionate, and it's about being compassionate to ourselves and being compassionate to others, and realizing that we're not all the same, and that is a good thing, and that actually we can embrace certain elements of the way that we are in order to really shine and help people. But it also people who aren't, empaths have a completely different skill set that allows us to look at things from a different perspective as well. Because I think as a HSP, we can often get in our own heads and overthink things. And, I don't know if you're the same as me, May, but, you think about every different scenario that could possibly happen. And then you get so caught up with everything. Whereas somebody who has a different thought pattern to you can actually enlighten different situations in certain ways so that you can move through that. Because I don't know if it's the same as you, but you can find certain situations really exhausting, and it's about not beating yourself up and getting down on yourself, which I think is so easy to do when you're a highly sensitive person. But it also means that we can all have a bit more compassion and empathy for each other, because I think that is definitely that awareness and that curation of embracing other people and how other people work is not necessarily the same way that you work, is a beautiful thing for us all to remind ourselves of and get into daily practice of. Because I think the more that we can do that, the more that we will embrace other ways of thinking, and we will grow as a community. So yeah.
Yeah, I love that so much, because it's especially the part with the overthinking. We think too much about things, and we are so judgmental, not towards others, because I think especially empaths and highly sensitives are very, very have a very high moral code. So
Right.
we tend to not too much judge everybody else. Like we'll accept everyone, but we don't do that with
When it comes
ourselves.
to ourselves, right.
Exactly. There's a
The
huge,
highest of standards.
right, and it's like we're not, and that's one of the things, we're not superhumans. We're allowed to be human too, and we're
Yeah,
allowed to have our own
absolutely.
faults too,
Yeah.
which on the other hand, again, might be our superpower.
Yeah. And I think that's it. Like, that's one thing that I love about doing what I do, is that it helps people to connect to that superpower. And I think we all need that daily reminder of nobody is perfect, and imperfect action is wonderful. And the more that we can be ourselves and the more that we can communicate who we are to other people, it doesn't mean that everybody is going to like us, which I know is another big thing for us wanting to be liked so much. But it also means that we get to be okay with the people that aren't our people, I think. And it also means that, the way in which we help people, we can be okay with making mistakes. We can be okay with holding our hands up and saying, oh, actually, this isn't working out the way that I wanted. Let's see if we can do this in a different way. Or, just flat out holding our hands up and saying, sorry. Because I think we do end up getting into that perfectionism cycle. We I know I'm the same way. You just beat up on yourself so hard that you think that there's no way of moving forward sometimes, because your standards of yourself and what you're delivering are so high. But actually, by being more intuitive and embracing who you are and showing who you are, isn't about perfection, and it isn't about everybody liking you. It's about you using that superpower of who you are and who you help in that beautiful way. And also letting go that perfectionism of having to handle all of the things, and just really embracing your superpower. And then either, taking messy action with the other things, or seeking help from other people whose superpower are those things that yours isn't. I think that's the beauty behind it all, is that everybody has different superpowers, and we connect with other people through them being regular human beings. But it's so easy for us as empaths and HSPs to not let those rules apply to ourselves, right?
I know we're so hard on ourselves, and I think one of the best advices I ever got was when, at one of the worst moments, probably right when I was beginning my own business as an online coach. I remember I had set up my very first live event, and a friend, not a friend, but someone I knew, saw the pre videos that I had created for it, and she was like, this doesn't sound good, and oh, and I listened to your meditation and your voice, it doesn't sound good. And the feedback was crushing. It was crushing. And it was just a week, like really 7 days before my first live. And you can probably imagine the
Yeah.
typical overthinker, the empath. Oh my God, it's not working. It's not good enough. I'm not going to be good. I have to practice. What am I going to do in a whole week? So the whole week I was struggling with myself. And like 2 hours before I go live, I met with a very dear friend of mine. And then she was like, what, your voice is perfect the way it is. And truly, by the way, you want to attract the people that like your voice. If they don't like your voice, then just let them go. But you want to have the ones that like you for who you are. And that sentence has stuck with me forever, because you can put it everywhere in marketing and friends and everything. You don't want to have people around you, and that includes your own clients, that don't align with you. And it's okay if they don't like the way you are doing things. It's okay. They might, like you said before, they might have someone else, or maybe, hey, maybe I'll know someone that it would be good for them, right?
Right. Yeah.
um that's even better. Let's just collaborate. We don't have to be, struggling ourselves, the whole thing. But knowing that, what do I want to attract? I want to attract people that take me for who I am. So I have to stop pretending to be something or someone else, and just be, just be myself, so I can attract the right people to be around me.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it doesn't come easy.
No.
It does come with daily practice, but I think that it's so important to remember, isn't it? And I think the more that we go back to, I was doing a workshop yesterday, and I like to throw some statistics about branding and things in there as well, because it always helps to back up what what you're saying as well with some scientific facts. But there was one statistic that said that 65% of people across the US do not feel that they have a human connection when they deal with businesses. 65%. You have absolutely millions and millions and millions of people over in the US who live everyday lives, and 65% of those people don't feel connected when they deal with people. And that's heartbreaking as somebody
Yeah.
who is an empath and somebody who is, wanting to help other people and has service on their heart. And the more that we can do that, it's just show our humanness and show that connectedness of who we are. It's not about being perfect. And it's hard sometimes, isn't it, to put that level of expectation on ourselves, but doing that daily reminder of, would I put this expectation onto other people if this was the other way around? Actually, if they just spoke to me like a human and explain what the situation is, then I would be totally fine with it. And if they're not fine with it, then are they really your people? And I think that's it as well, having that. It's a relationship, business. When you're in business, it's a relationship, whether that is your client, whether that is people that you're referring, whether that is people that you're, speaking to, or doing summits with, and all of that sort of thing. And I think the more that we can remind ourselves that it's not about being perfect, and it's not about putting on a facade of being, perfectionists, or experts, or we're all really good at our jobs, and we're really talented at what we do, and our superpower is X, Y, and Z. But also, we are a human being, and that's okay, and that's actually a really beautiful thing. And so that's why, for me, it's so important to help people understand that building a brand intuitively by being yourself is actually a superpower, because the easier that you find it to be yourself and to communicate who you are and how you do things, the easier it is for other people to make that decision about whether you're the person for them to work with or not. And that's exactly the same as meeting new friends, and meeting a new partner, or going out into the world and deciding if you are gonna like somebody or not. It's all the same thing, right?
Yes, and that's why I think it's so important to apply it everywhere. It's not just, I mean, of course we're talking about business and marketing right now, but these are things that you can apply to everything around you. I mean, like you said, it's the same thing with friends and partners. And how often do we allow ourselves to be in relationships? And I mean general relationships, not just love relationships, that are just not good for us, but we still, because I mean, oh, but we're friends since kindergarten. Yeah, still, but if you've grown apart and if you're exhausting yourself every time you meet, why keep struggling with the whole relationship?
Yeah, and I think that's it, isn't it? Being aware, and I think I know as boundaries cannot be easy for us sometimes, and putting those boundaries up can feel like a really difficult thing. But yeah, whether it is business or whether it is in life, actually putting those boundaries in place that protect us and allow us to live our lives in the beautiful way that we do that, and allowing ourselves to have the choice, because I think it is really important as empaths and HSPs, is that we get so caught up in helping others and having that connection to others and service to others that it's really easy to put others before ourselves. And you're right, having that decision of, is this relationship right for me, whether that is friendship, really romantic relationships, whether that is business, and being okay with saying no and moving away from it as well. I think especially in business, we feel like we should say yes,
Yeah.
especially when we're first getting started, and all of that sort of thing. And there's a big difference between exploration and curiosity of figuring out who you enjoy working with versus saying yes to anybody because you feel like you should, and trusting yourself and trusting your intuition. I try to do that. I try to do that on in every instance. Is I listen to my gut when I'm speaking to somebody, and ask myself, is this person, are we a good fit to work together? Is this going to be a good relationship? And if it's not, I'm going to hold my hands up and say there's quite a few times where I was like, you shouldn't be working with this person. And I've gone ahead and done it anyway because I felt like I should, or I needed the money, or, all of those sorts of things. And it worked out not as well as it could have done, or worked out horribly, or was, and then you automatically think, I knew I shouldn't have worked with them, versus actually having that power to say this isn't the right fit, and being able to recommend somebody else that they can find that is going to be a good fit, because that also feels really good to be able to help in a different way without piling everything on top of ourselves and taking that responsibility. And I think that is one thing that is particularly difficult in business, is us feeling like we should be doing all of those things for other people, or molding ourselves to accommodate what people need, rather than having those boundaries of, that's not what I do, and like, or you're not a good fit, or this doesn't feel right, so I'm going to recommend you here, here, and here, so that they can help you. I think we often always try and do the big helping, and the almost in a sense that sort of savior complex to some extent of coming in and saving the day, versus doing that sort of little, I've helped in this little way and that's okay and that's enough. Like, I think especially as people who have service on their heart and want to help others so much, it can be a bad thing sometimes that we over deliver and we have such high expectations for ourselves without considering actually what is best for us and what is best for the other person as well.
Definitely. I mean, how many empaths burn out? They just literally burn out because they're too much everywhere.
Yeah.
My favorite sentence in learning not to be everywhere was, "Not my circus, not my monkeys."
Yeah.
My mantra, not my circus, not my monkeys. I don't have to do everything. I don't have to
Yeah.
rescue everybody.
Yeah, that's it, isn't it? And yeah, I love that one. And one of my other favorite mantras is what other people think of me is none of my business.
I love that.
Which is such a good one. It's such a powerful one. And I do have to keep on like reminding myself of that one over and over again. But yeah, it's hard. Like, I mean, it's hard to navigate life in that way, but also navigating a business and then marketing and sales and all of that sort of stuff. It is a lot, and it can be really daunting sometimes, especially when we want to help people so much, is to actually put ourselves first and come back to that vision and that values of who we are and what we stand for, and being able to help people in that superpower way, rather than spreading ourselves thin and trying to help everybody with everything. And hands up, I am not cured. This is a daily thing that I also struggle with, but it's just so refreshing to be having that conversation with other people that think in the same way, because
Yeah.
there's a lot of people in my life that are completely different, which is beautiful because it gives me lovely other points of references. But then you do start to think like, is it me? Like, am I just, too
I
much, or what is wrong with me? Or like, why don't other people think in this way? So it's super nice to hang out with other people who have similar thought patterns that can relate, and we can laugh at each other about,
I know. No,
ourselves through.
exactly. And that's another thing. That's the community part that I love to create. And it's part of my vision as well, to create a community of empaths. Because I mean, we are, for me, I believe we're the ones that hold space for transformation for everybody else. So I think that I was brought here to hold space for empaths, so that we have a safe space to transform ourselves, because we also have things to transform and to process and to pass
Right.
through our
And we
system.
often put that off to serve others first, right?
Exactly, and that's why, yeah, I know, I totally know what you mean, because I had to go through the whole thing with my clients as well. I'm thankful that I have become better with my most of, like, if I'm looking, because I don't know, I didn't tell you, I'm a multi-potentialite, so I also need different things to do.
Yeah, I'm the
So
same. Yeah.
so my heart business is, of course, my helping empaths and supporting empaths and highly sensitive people, but I'm also a virtual assistant, so I also have that part of clients. And it's been with my coaching clients, I think, because I've been on my journey with them way longer. I've learned to, and I'm not saying not distance myself, because I'm still there to hold the space, but to distance my internal part so that I can be a better servant, right, for
Yeah, of
them.
course. Yeah.
In their case, with my virtual assistant side, I think, because I've only been doing it for 2 years, 3 years almost, I think, that was the time when I accepted that side inside of me that needs to, I can't, everyone
Do,
tells me you
right?
should focus on one
Yeah.
business. And I'm like, I can't, it just, I bore out when I don't have enough to do.
Right.
So there it's like going into, and that's why I completely understand, to tell a client, no, you're not, I don't think I'm a good fit for you. It feels so scary in the beginning. I think that when you have to do this and say, okay, no, I'm not going to be able to do this for you.
Mm.
But once you start doing it, I think you've had experience with that probably as well. Once you start doing it and setting that boundary, just, okay, here's a list of people. And it becomes easier, I think, over time.
Yeah, it definitely becomes, yeah, it does and it doesn't. I think it does definitely depend on what's
On
going
the
on at the
client.
time. Yeah. And I think like it is one of those things that I keep on going back to, and I'm like, oh, okay. And it's so easy, like when you've got bills to pay and things like that, especially as an entrepreneur, when you're like, oh, I really need that money, So it's not about, I think, it's not about that judgment within ourselves or doing things, but I think it's actually about remembering about the energy side of it as well. Is actually that exchange of money worth the energy that you're going to be receiving in from that? And I know that every single time that I have gone against, do not work with this person isn't a right fit, I've gone against my intuition with that. It's not that the client is bad. It's not that, I'm not talking about, these people are wonderful people. It's just that it wasn't a good fit. So it was never going to work out. And it's not that you're not delivering things, or it's not that, it's just something, that magic, that essence, that energy of it all just doesn't quite work. And I think that then, as empaths, then perpetuates you into that spiral of, what's wrong with me, I'm bad at what I do, da, 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 da. Whereas
Like,
actually,
yes,
by holding that space and saying, this person isn't the right person for me to work with, there is somebody out there that is the right person for them to work with, and by letting them deal with that, I'm going to be attracting people that are the right fit for me, and embracing that and enjoying that and being able to do more of that. Right. And I know that is so difficult when you have, bills to pay and expectations and pressure, and hands up, I totally feel that as well. we are definitely not alone in that at all. But I think from experience, every time that I have honored that, it has felt much better to do it in that way than put yourself and that client through the pain of it not working out the way that you hoped it to. And I think especially as an empath, we hold on to that for so long. We hold on to it a lot longer than our clients
Yeah,
will
definitely.
inevitably hold on to it as well. We allow ourselves to have that entire legacy of where you have let somebody down, or you feel like you haven't given everything that you could have. And so I see it as self-compassion, that by allowing ourselves, self-compassion for ourselves, that we're not for everybody and that's okay. And then also gifting them that gift of being like, I'm not the right person for this. Let's help you find somebody and whether that's just sending them recommendations or simply just saying, no, I'm not a good fit for you. Actually, you're going to save that turbulent energy in the future. So yeah, it's a tricky one, isn't it? It's so tricky.
I know. And again, it's also applicable for any kind of relationship, because maybe we've all been there with the one partner that we've been feeling like, this is not working out anymore, but I don't want to, I don't want to break up right away. So
Right. Yeah. And with family dynamics and things like that as well, saying no because you want to say no and it's right to do. And I think that's it as well. That is one thing that I'm particularly find very difficult, is saying no to my family. And they would, it would be fine either way, but we still get in our heads about sort of feeling like we should, or them needing us and all of that sort of thing. But actually also no is quite an acceptable answer. Thank you.
Oh. No, but I think it's also this process of finding out how to say that no, because I think sometimes we're also a little bit afraid of that no, because it feels that we're going to be disconnecting ourselves with that no, which is not true. It can be in some cases, but it's not true for everything. So how can I maybe say that no without losing the connection?
Right. That's it. And I think also we do feel that need to explain, don't we? Like actually practicing that no, and just that infinite no, sends my body into like shock. I'm just like, I can't just say no and that be the end of it. I always need to give like some explanation to why, because it's for me, not for that other person. But I think sometimes we do, don't we, just get caught up in that needing to be needed and needing to help and needing to serve as who we are, that it doesn't always warrant it.
That's true. Oh man, I think I could go on with you a lot longer, but I think we don't want to stress our audience for today. Maybe we'll just do a second one.
Absolutely, anytime.
But before we come to an end, tell us how you do your magic. Like, what do you do for your clients, and how, maybe a little bit of the how you do it.
Yeah, absolutely. So my main branding package is Build a Brand by Being Yourself. So it is a 3-day brand intensive, or we can do it over a 4-week period, where we create the brand foundations of your brand. So we look at so we start with a guided visualization to connect you to your future self, so that we see the vision of what you're trying to create. And that it isn't just what your business looks like, it's what your life looks like, because business is not in isolation. And then we connect to your values, we connect to your why, we connect to that vision of what you're trying to create. And then we work back from that. So depending on where you are in your journey, sometimes people will look, 5-10 years in the future. Sometimes people will just look a couple of months, or a year or two. And that is absolutely fine. So once we've got that connection to self, connection to those values, connection to the everything, the essence of why you're doing what you're doing, we then put that into practical application for the visual side of everything. Because branding is so much more than the visual side of everything. It's that undertone, it's your values, your vision, how you create that beautiful essence for your clients. It's the entire experience, not just the visuals. So we work on making sure that you're really clear in your values. We pick out some core content pillars. So I like to think of this as like building a house. So the values are the sediment that we lay out as we mark out that ground. The values are the posts that we're putting in place of those unshakable things that we stand for. And then everything else that we build onto that is all of the pieces in between. And that means that we can change that, we can adapt it, we can move it, we can grow, we can shrink, we can do whatever we want to. And helping my clients understand that foundational piece of those values work is incredible, and I love doing that. Then once we've done that, we go on to the visual side. So mood board, color palette, logos, all of your brand typography, any patterns or elements or anything like that, so that you have that entire core foundation of who you are as a business, so that you then can easily communicate that going forwards, because the clearer you are about the foundations of who you are and who you work with and who you help, the easier it is to communicate it to the world, whether that's your team or potential clients or, you know, anybody at all. And by having that strong foundation in who you are helping, it's easier to then help other people and communicate that. So that's my branding process. But I also then offer strategy and coaching support for people who want to build their brand in a more intuitive way. So if you just want to chat out what your thoughts are and how to do that, because the beautiful thing about running your business is there is no one right way to do anything. And as we were saying earlier, you know, having that clarity first to then use all of those outside sources, resources and toolkits to move your business forward is so important. So being able to help facilitate that for people so that they can take those action steps of what they want next is so important. And then I also do all of the other lovely branding things. So websites, banners, you know, social media, ebooks, all of that sort of stuff. But it really comes from a place of what my clients need to be able to help other people. And that foundational piece is one of the main things that I love doing, that sort of gives them that clarity and confidence in moving forward. So yes.
I love that so much, because I think every entrepreneur listening in is going to know when you have this, that foundation helps you with so many things, with everything, with content creation, with really supporting your clients in a way that you want to support your clients. Right?
And this isn't about everything looking beautiful and pretty. And I know that's controversial for a branding designer to say, but it isn't. It's about having that clarity of self. You know, there's so many amazing brands out there that don't have the prettiest branding and, you know, do have things smushed together and sent out and they're helping people, and that's okay. And I think especially as empaths and HSPs, we can get so caught up in it looking a particular way and that perfectionism and everything as well, but it's facilitating that as well, so that you can DIY it if you choose to do so. You can, you know, work with somebody who is going to make it look beautiful for you, or is going to help you with the internals or whatever that is. But that foundation of that core understanding of who you are and who you help, and that I always do this because it's inside. It's so once you have that clear vision of everything, the outward stuff communicating becomes so much easier. And it doesn't mean that it's going to be perfect. And I embrace messy action and I embrace taking steps to move forward. But you've got that confidence in self first to take that messy action and to make, you know, steps forward and to make mistakes and pivot and do all of that lovely stuff.
I love that so much, especially the intuitive part, because I believe that's where the future is going, is for us to really feel ourselves. And also something that I do in my coaching, I want my clients to feel who they are, what they want to do, what, you know, to be able to hear and listen to their own guidance within. And I love when that we're having more and more like you that are coming from a very, you know, very strict and already set in stone industry, and you're actually, you know, showing us a way on how to do it a little bit more, like really how to use that environment to, or grow in that environment, just being ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. But the way that I see it is I have the design skill set, and I have that, you know, knowledge of being an empath and being being the same as the people that I'm helping. And I'm a conduit. I am able to take what your vision is and make that into a reality, but it's not for me to determine that. It's for us to have a working relationship together to achieve that together, rather than, and I know that can be a really difficult thing when you are dealing with branding, is that connection and that interpretation. I am interpreting somebody's vision, and that's a really beautiful thing and a delicate thing and a fantastic thing to be helping people with, and that's why I love doing what I do. But we often abdicate our power to others to achieve that, rather than it being that delegation and that exploration together. So yeah, I love it.
I love it, because how many times, like, I don't know how many times I've asked someone to do, some branding part for me. And if I wasn't connected with them, then, like, I have this idea, I'd like to have it this way. And you send it to them, then they do it in one way. And then you're back and forth like 20, 30 times until you finally get what you want. And it just doesn't, it feels weird.
It does, yeah. And it's such a common thing as well. And it often leaves us thinking, what is wrong with me? And it's nothing wrong with you or with the designer. It's just that just the connection isn't right, or the communication isn't right, or the understanding of what you're about isn't translating. And that's why I always start with the brand foundational pieces first, because it just means that you are so solid in that clarity. I mean, I'm solid in that clarity when I work with you, but whether that's continuing to work with me or working with anybody else for anything else, it's about having that confidence in self first and what you're doing, to then be able to delegate that to the world and talk about what you're doing in a confident way, rather than giving it to somebody else and hoping that they get what you're on about.
I love that so much. So if we have any solopreneurs or entrepreneurs listening in, we're going to put all the links in the description of the video or the podcast, so that you can find where, or maybe you want to, your website is Kath Grimmitt, right?
It is grimdesigns.co.uk. Yeah,
even easier.
We'll shoot out all of the information, and I have a couple of really great free resources as well if you do want to get started with this type of thing. I've got a free guided visualization to connect you to your future self, so that you can get started with that practice of just connecting in, because you can DIY all of this as well. And I've also got a 60-minute webinar on building a brand by being yourself. So if you are interested in any of that, then please go to my website, take advantage of the free resources, and also drop me a message on Instagram if you want to talk about things like this as well. I'm always happy to continue the conversation, and I'm sure we will be doing the same again soon, May.
Yes, me too. Definitely. This was so amazing. Thank you so much for being my guest here on the show, and for sharing all your wisdom about this. I feel it's so important. Your work is so important, because it's part of our lives, and so many of us, I feel that a lot of us empaths tend to have a stronger tendency to be solopreneurs or entrepreneurs, because it allows us to work freely, or at least as freelancers, or like that sort of thing. And it's so important that we have someone out there that helps us navigate or come into that space a little bit easier and with more confidence as well. Right. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure.
Yes. Do you have one last thing that you'd like to share with the audience?
I just to really trust your intuition and get into that practice of being yourself, because we are all incredible human beings as we are, and especially as empaths and highly sensitive people, we always think that we can be better and do better. And that's something that I constantly remind myself on a daily basis, is that I'm good enough as I am right now. And that doesn't mean that I won't improve and that I don't strive to do that, but I am actually great as I am right now, and everybody else is too.
Oh, I love that. Everybody take that away for yourself. You are perfect the way you are right now. And thank you, Kath, so much for being here. And I'm looking forward to our next conversation.
Same. Thanks, May.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Have a great time. As always, surf your energy wave, baby. Bye-bye.